Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Don't Gamble with Safety, How Simulation Lowers Risks, Costs, and Claims in Utilities, sponsored by CM Labs. Today, we'll explore how simulation training helps companies reduce incidents, lower insurance premiums, and get operators field ready faster, all while providing safety teams with data they can act on. Before we get started, we're going to start this webinar with a quick poll. If you don't mind, please answer the question that pops up on your screen and click Submit to return to the main webinar page. Thank you. Now, we're pleased to have two excellent speakers with us today. Mark Woodward, Director of Training and Safety Manager at Sellenriek family of companies. Mark brings deep expertise in creating utility training programs that keep crews safe and efficient. And we have Mary Lee Shalvoy, Director of Communication and Content at CM Labs. Mary will show how simulation technology is transforming training across the utilities sector. And I am Keith Gribbins, publisher of Compact Equipment. This event is presented by Compact Equipment Magazine and Utility Contractor Magazine, bringing you the latest insights about equipment and safety solutions. Today's webinar is sponsored by CM Labs, the global leader in simulation-based training for construction and utility industries. With over 2,000 installations in 50 countries, CM Labs develops advanced training simulators that help operators build skills faster, reduce incidents, and improve job site safety. One last reminder before we begin, the audience can submit questions at any time during the presentation, and they'll be answered in the Q&A session at the end. Now I'll hand it over to Mark and Mary Lee.
Thanks, Keith. Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Lee Shalvoy, and I'm the Director of Communication and Content at CM Labs. And as Keith said, we build CM Labs builds simulation training for heavy equipment. It's highly realistic, immersive training for operators in construction, ports, and utilities. And in the utilities world, that means helping teams train for both underground and overhead work. And municipalities, unions, OEMs, and contractors like Sellenriek, our guest today, who are looking for safer, smarter ways to build crews, trust CM Labs and our technology. And it's my job to tell the story of CM Labs and to tell the story of our customers like Sellenriek. So Mark, I'm just going to ask you to give a little bit more introduction for you and for Sellenriek and what you're trying to accomplish.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Mark Woodward. I'm Director of Training and Safety Manager here within the Sellenriek family of companies, and we primarily install fiber optic communications anywhere in the United States. We have a vast array of equipment that we use in that process: horizontal, directional drilling, mini excavators, all the associated equipment. And we call it the Sellenriek family of companies because we're actually a family of companies made up of Sellenriek Construction, Sellenriek Energy, Utilisource, Anderson Underground, and also Cellcon. And I'm part of the management structure of that family of companies. And my role is to help do what we can to get education out there to all the crews, help them work safer, help them do their job better, and provide them with the education they need to deliver a quality product every time to all of our customers, right? So
across the board, across construction and utilities throughout the U.S.
For sure, yeah, we're able to build overhead power lines, so we are in overhead electric distribution services. We're in all types of fiber optic communications. We build all types of those structures. We can pretty much build any utility. We also do design work, engineering, contract locating, damage prevention services. So we span pretty much the entire array of utility services for large nationwide utilities, to municipalities, to internet service providers. We pretty much service the entire spectrum of utilities.
And in your role, so you also have a role at the Missouri Common Ground Alliance. Mm-hmm. And I'd like you to talk about that a little bit and how that informs your role there now, but also you have a really interesting background that brought you to Sellenriek. So why don't you talk about Missouri Common Ground Alliance first, and then talk a little bit about how your history has brought you to where you are now and why that's important.
For sure, absolutely. So, and thank you for asking about the Missouri Common Ground Alliance. We're an all volunteer group. We are a state chapter, an affiliate chapter of the National Common Ground Alliance. And our primary mission at the Missouri Common Ground Alliance is to get, we're a coalition of the willing to donate time and talents to provide education, safety education, and damage prevention, utility damage prevention education to any excavators anywhere in the Midwest. So we do an annual summit in Springfield, Missouri. That's December 10th and 11th this year. And we provide, $1 million worth of safety training completely free of charge, thanks to our supporters. CM Labs is a supporter. Thanks to our supporters that help fund the event, we're able to provide a ton of safety education to excavators completely free of charge. So that's my role right now as president of that group. And I'm trying my best to lead and help out as well as I can with Missouri Common Ground Alliance. So if anybody would like to know more about the Missouri CGA, we're at mocommonground.org. And we also operate the International Utility Locate Radio, locateradio.net.
And we can put that in the follow-up materials and make sure people have that. We'll talk about your background and how it got you to training, developing all this safety training and all the work that you do.
Well, I've known the Sellenriek company for a long time through the Missouri Common Ground Alliance. I've known their safety director, the director of safety for a long time, Jeremy Davenport, and we just been to different things. We knew each other through different activities, and I'm local, so I've always known about the Sellenriek company, So one day we just had a conversation, and we chatted over the phone. He said, "Listen, we have an opportunity here that you're not going to want to miss." And my background is working in workers' compensation insurance. I work for a regional workers' compensation carrier. We service 16,000 customers across the state of Missouri, large contractors down to small contractors in any industry in between. And my role at that point was to develop safety training materials, deliver training. I probably did 200, I call them safety meetings, but conference presentations a year. And I would, each one of those would be custom. And we'd travel all over the place, and that's what we did. And that's how I got involved with the Missouri CGA, really tried to help them out. That's how I got to know the Sellenriek family of companies more. And we had a conversation. He said, "Listen, this is what we want to do to really make a difference." And I knew it was a great fit. So I took the leap. I left workers' compensation insurance and came to work for directional boring. And that's what we're doing. And one of the things I really love about the company and the people is, we're trying new things. We're doing new things. We're so focused on the construction crews and what we can do to help them, and so focused on providing the top quality product and making sure our customers are happy every time. I mean, that's just the culture I want to be a part of. And so I'm here, and I'm trying to practice what I preached as a safety training consultant before, trying to put those skills to use within our family of companies now.
In that background. And also it's incredible how you're an evangelist, not just for Sellenriek, but for the whole industry and for the whole region. I'm sure it extends beyond Missouri, but for the whole region.
Yeah. I've always been very lucky to have worked for employers that would allow me to spend some extra time, not only helping just kind of our mission, but helping make the industry better and make the industry safer. And when I was with the workers' compensation insurance carrier, we did that, but I'm able to continue that within the Sellenriek family companies. And this company is highly involved with national CGA, national associations, Missouri Common Ground Alliance. They're involved in everything to just make things better. So that's a culture I want to be a part of.
And talk a little bit about what are the changes that you've seen in safety or the the safety industry or people's opinions of safety and the safety work, I would think that, and in a second, we're going to talk about the challenges in the industry and, incidents and all of that. But can you talk a little bit about how it's changed through the years, at least through your career, the attitude and opinions of safety training and safety in the industry?
I think that folks understand the need. I think business owners understand that they are on a thin line. I think that there are more people seeing the disastrous results of incidents, whatever they are. I think social media and our ability to communicate safety messages has, gotten so much better. We have technology like CM Labs equipment now that can allow us to train 24/7, rain or shine. So the technology's better, the communication is better, the access to safety materials is better. There are all of these construction employer associations throughout the United States and Canada that provide toolbox talks and safety videos and safety resources, and all the regulatory agencies have put everything online. So the access is there. There's so much information, webinars, employer groups that get together. So I think the access to the information, the availability of it, and the ability to communicate among groups has really improved. And a lot of the technology like CM Labs equipment's really helped as well. And the attitudes, you're going to have a lot of different attitudes. Some folks may see safety as a hassle. They may really buy in, but like you said, it's evangelism. It's the why. Why is this important? Why is it important to the crews? And then remember the focus. With all safety activities, you have to focus on the crews doing the work. And how does this affect them? How is this going to make their job better? And so always remember those things when you're putting safety things in practice. How does it really affect the crew, and how's it going to help them?
Right. And we'll talk about that. And now, so I'm going to shift a little bit to talk about safety. We have a quick video to show about just some of the things that could happen, what we're talking about. So maybe we could show that video. Yeah, I think you can see, I'm sure you can see the safety violations that are happening there. But sometimes there's not safety violations too. And sometimes things just go wrong. And so, I want to talk about that in a second, but there's so many statistics, and we're talking about the utility industry. These are essential. It's water, it's electricity, it's gas, it's power, it's sewage, it's the infrastructure that gives us our modern life. But, it's exposure to serious danger, high voltage, the heavy equipment, the excavator, the big blocks of asphalt, confined spaces. You're in the city a lot of the time, and there's hazardous materials that you're digging up. And one statistic that I pulled was each year about 150 U.S. workers, this is U.S., 150 U.S. workers die from contact with electricity on a job site. And 74% of that number are not the actual electrical workers. They're part of the crew, the extended crew on the site. And we see that, it's cross-training, it's all of that. But talk a little bit too, some of these hazards and some of this situation, like you said, that that bring this to the forefront?
So one of the things that's changed about safety in the last few years is the access to data, and the Bureau of Labor Statistics data and analysis web pages will show you the top ways that different industries, the top ways people are killed and injured in different industries. And in construction, the 6 most common things that we talk about are going to be motor vehicle crash, workplace violence, falls from heights, electrocution, caught in between hazards, and struck by hazards are the top 6 ways that our construction workers are killed on the job site. So when we overlay safety rules and safety regulations and things like that to our construction processes, first thing I do is run it through that prism of what's the likelihood of somebody being injured on the job site? How's it going to happen? What's what are the top ways somebody's going to die on the job site? And we want to really affect what those hazards are on those job sites, right? We want to affect those hazards and deal with the most common ways, right? So focus and priority is big. Also realizing that there is no such thing as a safe job site. It doesn't exist. All job sites have hazards. So in the video that you saw there, you saw heavy things being moved. So you have your orthopedic injury, soft tissue injury hazards. They're always there. You're always going to have weight, mass, size to these things. You're going to have moving equipment. All moving equipment has blind spots, right? So, and then the utilities themselves, the utility itself, and it's inherently is dangerous. If you have a pipeline with 1200 PSI, that is not safe. That's a lot of pressure. And these things are buried underground for years and years and years and have corrosion and different things happen, right? So there is no such thing as a safe job site. All utilities have aspect of danger, and really educating our folks from a top-down hierarchy standpoint. What are the most common, most frequent ways to be hurt or injured on a job site and then killed, and then really getting out there and dealing with it. Now, the thing folks have to forget is to stop being passive. You have to work with a purpose, and you have to go on the offense. And that's through the job safety analysis process to seek out and find those hazards and deal with them and control those hazards on the job site. So I'm going to have the mindset of control and the offensive tactic with safety, and I'm going to stop being passive. And I'm really going to educate my folks on what are statistically speaking, what are the most likely causes of these incidents, right?
Right. And I think that this top-down aspect, we're going to, in a second, I think it kind of leads us naturally into the BUILT program. I think this top-down aspect of your BUILT program, and it's BUILT. And I think there's a slide that shows just what it stands for. But I love this concept of, if you start at the top in the organizational structure of a job site, then it does trickle down and everyone's a part of this. And we're going to talk about culture later on too. But let's talk about the BUILT program and how that feeds into this overall attention to all this detail and what you're trying to do.
So the BUILT program stands for Building Utility Infrastructure Leadership Training. And that is our program that we have developed for 2 groups of folks. New employees that come to work for our company, and also existing employees attend. So initially, the program was initially built for existing or for new hires. But we quickly realized that we wanted existing employees to come through the program as well, to sort of reset safety training, review all the safety and culture and policy and HR programs again. But the main thing we realized was we wanted our new people to interact with our existing employees so we could promote culture, and we want those conversations. So this quickly evolved from a new hire school to a company-wide training event that mixed current employees with experience with our new hires, so we can all work together to show leadership and grow a positive culture.
And there's a couple of aspects of that, but first I want to ask, and do you use the CM Labs simulation training? Is that a part of the BUILT program?
Absolutely. So everybody that comes through BUILT, now remember, we have a family of 5 companies within, the Sellenriek family. So if they are a utility locator, if they are an aerial fiber, if they are a lineman, if they are in construction, everybody uses the CM Labs machine. They all get a login, and they log in and they complete certain tasks. So if they're aerial fiber, or if they are electric distribution, they will use the Digger Derrick simulator. If they are doing construction, they can use the Mini-X. They can use the track loader, the skid steer. They can use the dozer functions, right? So everybody goes through that. They log in. The system officially tracks their scores. We consider that official equipment training. And yeah, so everybody that comes through BUILT uses the machine that DJ's running right now behind me.
That's right. And a couple other things. So how long has it been in place? And maybe talk about if you've seen some success. And then the third question is, talk about the workforce development aspect of it, because it's not just training operators, it's training leaders, right?
Yeah.
And so, so maybe those are 3 questions, but I think that it ties into the success of the whole program. Is this a comprehensive view of safety as a culture in a company, and talk about this, what went into that.
Absolutely. So I hired on with the Sellenriek family of companies on April 22nd of 2024. We stood the program up about 40 days later. June 17th was our first class. And we have had 32 classes since June 17th. We have trained roughly 300 of our employees, of 550 through the program. Gosh, it's such an opportunity when you have new folks. They are new to the company, but they may not be new to the industry. We'll hire a lineman. They were a lineman somewhere else. We hire somebody that's experienced in cable plows. Well, they ran a cable plow before. They may have 15 years experience, or they may have none. So what we do is we talk about all the HR topics. We talk about everything they need to know, but we're also able to draw out those leadership skills. So we have somebody that's new to the company, but they have 17 years in the industry. They know a lot. So we may assign them as a foreman and make them responsible for putting on part of the class. We may have them deliver a leadership session. On a 4-day program, we would probably have 6 leadership presentations. So we delegate a lot of things. We try to draw out leadership skills, right? And then our existing employees, our current employees that come through the program, we also want them to teach and lead and have those good, positive conversations, right? So it's the good vibes machine for sure. We really want to keep everything on the up and up. We really want everybody to understand that they're a leader, they're a trainer, and even we have people that are promoted to foreman within a year. We have folks that are promoted. Well, what are those behaviors and those work behaviors like? What are those social behaviors like that we want? Let's talk about them now. Let's grow our leaders right now from day one. And that's what we do. we talk about leadership throughout the entire thing. Yeah, we do review the safety rules and we go over the safety things and we do all of the program, but we're really trying to identify now at the identify leaders and encourage leadership. And at the very end, we actually complete a scorecard process, which is their first review with the company. So DJ, me, Donnie, our co-presenters will actually fill out a scorecard, and we do an end of the program review with them. And we tell them what we want them to do more and how to grow their leadership skills, right? Based on what we've seen after 4 days. So it's a really great program, and we're trying to not only do the safety thing, but we're really trying to develop leadership right out the gate.
So it's a 4-day program. And you've run 32 of them since June of 2024. So is it also, and you do new and experienced, or and existing client staff? Is it also a situation where somebody new comes in, does it, and then will do it again at a different level or for a different level of safety, or can you repeat the program?
Yeah, they'll repeat it every 3 years.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, they'll repeat the BUILT program every 3 years, and it's and we've had a lot of current employees come through, and it's really funny because you would think that they'd say, I don't need that, but they want to come through. We've had folks make we've had tons of folks make special requests to come through the program, and they feel that it helps them and grow their leadership skills. We've had 35-year employees come through the program, and they feel that it was a tremendous benefit to them, because one of the things that we'll talk, and I'll always meet with current employees before they come through the program. And I said, listen, this is your chance to tell new employees what they need to know to grow the company and make things better. This is your chance to be, that leader and that positive leader to help grow the culture that you want. So they embrace that, and it's just great to see. So it's great to see brand new folks and current employees work together.
So it sounds like the company, did it have a retention program problem? I know that some companies in the industry talk about retention, keeping people on, jumping from job to job. Does Sellenriek have that problem before? Or have you seen an improvement?
No, retention's a huge issue across all industries. When I worked for insurance, retention and recruiting was a huge issue, even in insurance. So it's an issue across all industries. In terms of having a problem, no. In terms of just, knowing that we want to improve and that our operation is expanding, that we probably better spend more time on these topics to grow the culture, to improve the quality, and improve how we do these job processes. So, HR professionals have talked about this for 25 years. 25 years ago, I sat in conferences where they said, we need to improve our onboarding and we need to spend more time, but nobody ever really does. And it's a 2-hour thing, or they watch some sort of an LMS module, and they consider that an onboarding program. And so the Sellenriek family companies, the top management knew that this just had to be done. So that's what they did. They invested heavily in it. So,
and you do have some numbers on outcomes, on program outcomes. I know you've trained more than 300 people, but talk a little bit. You've seen a reduction in incidents and in injuries reduced.
Yeah. So if you look at statistics, new hire injury statistics. So these are folks that were hired in any industry across the United States. If they were hired within that first year, 30 to 40% of new hires are injured within that first year of employment, or within the first year of a job transfer. Now, it's not always new hires, but it could be somebody that got a promotion or a job transfer into a different department. Within that first year, there's a 30 to 40% chance they're going to get hurt. So new hire incidents and injuries is definitely something we're focusing on. We have seen in that first year of the folks that went through that training, we saw a 43% reduction in equipment incidents, vehicle incidents, utility damage incidents, right? And in personal injury incidents, right? So that's a big deal. That's going on a 50% reduction. So it is making a positive impact. It also is highlighting the need for additional mid-level management training. So we are in the process of developing basically a Built 2.0. So how do we take the concepts that we teach in Built and we double down on them and create that program for our foremen, general foremen, supervisors, and directors.
Excellent. Excellent. And that's incredible, almost 50%. And then haven't you seen an overall reduction in incidents across the board, not just in new hires?
Yeah, even across the company, we've seen, I can't tell you exactly how many incidents, but I can tell you that it's somewhere in the 65% reduction in overall incidents. It's lost time incidents, recordable incidents, that type of thing. So it's having a positive effect across multiple types of incidents, near misses, injuries. So it's having a big effect.
Excellent. So it's worth the investment in the technology. So
yeah, and the thing to think about here is, yes, these programs, they're quite an investment. The Sellenriek family of companies have made a massive investment in this program, but we're looking at down the road. What is 3 years, 5 years, 7, 10 years going to look like for our company in terms of growth and expansion, but also, growing leadership and culture is the only way it's going to work. It's the only way we're going to be able to deliver that quality product, right?
Right. And as you said, right now you have plans for a new training or an additional training program, but I'm sure you have ideas for multiple. There could be multiple courses, pinpoint smaller issues, have them shorter, have them one-day events. But there's so many things you can do moving forward with all of this. So it really does explode just the concept of safety training in an organization like Sellenriek. So
there's a ton of opportunity to develop micro learning modules where we talk about, whatever these topics are. We take these topics out of the Built program and we turn them into micro learning topics that we've already talked about this. We know them like the back of our hand. We can create internal social media posts. We can create internal little safety videos. We can put documents out there like traditional PDF toolbox talks. So going back to your earlier question about what's changed in safety, it's the ability to take one piece of content and put it out across multiple ways of communicating. We will need to, because we have people in multiple states, we will need to develop a training program that spans across multiple ways of communicating. You can't bring 75 mid-level managers to Jonesburg, Missouri monthly from 16 different states. So online training through learning management system, webinars, small group in person where we travel to them, homework, and then the traditional, training room, formats.
Right. It's exciting, and it'll keep you employed for a long time.
Yeah, I love it. So
that's good. So we do have a poll question for our audience, and that's about what is your organization's biggest challenge in developing a skilled workforce in doing programs like this? And so, or at least attempting to. So I think if we can run the poll, does it pop up? There it is. So it's, what is your organization's biggest challenge in developing a skilled workforce, attracting new talent, upskilling existing employees, limited access to training equipment, the high cost of training, equipment, fuel, instructors, and ensuring training consistency and standardization. Is the audience seeing that? Okay, and there is a way to see this. So if people want to jump in, upskilling existing employees, it looks like that's it's the, you know, the number one right now. The number one issue is how to upskill existing employees. Talk a little bit about how you took that into consideration in the BUILT program.
So one of the things we look at is communicating things or topics, whatever they are, out to folks that are working in Montana. They're working in New Mexico. They're working in Minnesota, right? So a challenge for us is communicating a standardized message, right? Communicating facts, safety facts. This is what you do. This is what is available. This is how you handle these things. Also making sure that you're aligning your safety messages and production messages with fact, okay? The non-answers are killers for us, right? Well, it should be, or I would think so, right? So fact-based training across multiple ways of providing that training. We want to document everything, right? But not every time can we get that done. We're just happy that somebody saw the message. So you're going to have ways that you can document that the employee saw this, but then you're going to just say, hey, we really want you to pay attention to this. And it's like a Facebook video, right? So there's multiple different ways. And, you know, with construction, you know, one thing to remember is if they're not building, then this company's, my position, we're all, if they're not building. So I get it's the yin and the yang, right? So you will have to, there is no way around it. You will have to figure out how to provide some sort of fact-based training to your people. That's just the way it is. Also, I highly recommend that short bits of training more often. So we do less, more than we do one event once a year and expect people to retain that information. So having a place for people to go to get that document, those documented rules or whatever those facts are, putting those facts out there in toolbox talk type formats or short videos. And I make videos all the time. I'm not very good at it, but I have to do it. I want to, because if it will help them, then that's what we'll do. I'll make videos on base level PPE. These are the 6 pieces of PPE every employee should have. How to turn in an incident report. So facts, I'll make a video and then I'll put it out there on an internal social media page for everybody to see. And that's just the different things you're going to do. So I recommend more, less.
And I think
across
that
multiple communication ways.
And I think that I'm going to jump back and bring in, you know, the simulation training. I think that kind of more or less in convenient times is perfect, a perfect scenario with the simulation, with the simulator, because you can bring people in at different times. You know, if there's the weather, if the ground is frozen, and if they're, you know, bringing people in that way. So outside of the BUILT program, are you using the sims for specialized training for other things going on?
Yeah, we do. So with new employees or existing employees, one of the things about the CM Labs machinery we can do is verify operator skill, put in that they've had actual training on it, monitor their scores, right? And you may have somebody that's worked for the company for quite a while, but they hop on this and you find out that little safety things aren't getting done, right? Like I watch to see when somebody hops on. So when DJ hops on, he puts his seatbelt right on. But then if you have like a 22-year employee hop on and they don't put their seatbelt on, well, that tells me a lot. Also, their style of operating. So one thing, one comment I heard from the poll was fuel for training. The CM Labs machine is safe. It requires no fuel. I can run it 24/7. I can run it indoors. I can run it on rain days when it's too cold to run the job site. We can create, we can bring crews in here to train them. It's incredibly realistic. And it's really funny that folks that are operators that I know that machine's not going to be, and they hop right on, and then immediately within the first 10 or 15 seconds, they see how realistic it is. And then I don't have to worry about them. They're just running. They're just accomplishing tasks, going through the modules and enjoying it.
I think that, and you said, if somebody jumps on who's been, a veteran or, expert and doesn't do the simple things, I know that a lot of people will take shortcuts and they don't realize it even, because this is how we've been doing it here. We need to cut the time here. We need to drop it down. We need to do this as fast as possible. So I don't think that's possible on a sim to do the shortcuts, or if it is, it shows you what could happen.
Right. Yeah, you're right. And it really helps, target the bad habits, and we actually added a few additional things that folks need to talk about before they even operate this. So we have a pre-operation checklist that before you even, and if anybody's interested in this, I can send it to them, just a Word document. It's a pre-operation checklist on things you need to think about before you even get on the machine. Like, what are you digging? Where are you digging at? Are the utility locates complete? Have you chatted with your supervisor? Why are you on the machine in the first place? Have you checked it? Have you pulled the dipstick? And have you done these things? Have you done a 360 walk around? When was the last time the machine was operated or inspected, right? So that's part of our pre-operation checklist. Then they hop on the simulator and they do the CM Labs checklist module to get folks used to inspecting the machine. Then they go to the next module, which is basic skills. And then they work up from there. And what's interesting is there's a lot of modules on this, and it tests them. Not all these modules are easy. They're very, you have to have a detailed eye to do these. So it takes some time. It's a challenge for sure. And then we also talk about, it also is an opportunity to talk about pre-excavation damage prevention surveys. You're not supposed to just take scoops out of the ground without checking for buried utilities. So it does a lot. Everybody gets a little wallet card with their name and login numbers, login information, and then right here are all the safety rules. So these are our excavation safety rules right here on a wallet card that everybody gets. So they get a ton of safety information, before and as they're operating.
And because of your culture and how it's geared towards safety, it's seen as part of the experience and part of the work instead of, oh, I'm going to throw this aside. They see other,
it's integrated.
It's all integrated. So it's really, really a part of it. So,
and then also that we have the systems and we have the leadership in the field to continue these. The pre-construction damage prevention survey is what we do. The JSA is what we do. The inspections is what we do, right? So it's giving them the exposure to these cultures and these processes now, right?
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about the CM Labs partnership, but before we do, there is one last poll question, and it's and I'll have, after we ask it, I'm going to have you answer it for Sellenriek. But the poll question is, what is your organization aiming to improve through training? And there we go. And that should be up now for people to answer. What is your organization aiming to improve through training, reduce safety incidents, lower insurance premiums? Mark, you know all about that. Minimize danger to equipment, accelerate operator development, improve training, accountability, and evaluation. What were out of that list? What about Sellenriek? What was your intention? What were you aiming to improve? And are you surprised at anything that have things come up that it wasn't an aim, but it has turned into a really important result of that?
Well, yeah, so we have 4 directives when we're providing training or when we are on a job site. There are 4 directives. Number 1, we have to have safety. Okay, so we are training all of those safety protocols and safety procedures and safety rules. We cannot have incidents, and those incidents, we're concerned about motor vehicle and buried utility damages and all those things, right? So incidents, that will always be a major demand for us to push those, to keep incident frequency and severity down, right? So incidents. Second one would be quality. We are teaching QA, quality assurance, quality control. Those are 2 different things. We're teaching them both in Built. How do we deliver a top quality product, and how do we hand off that top quality product to our customer? And then what are the processes to get to that end result, right? The next thing that we are talking about, or a directive, would be maintenance, improving maintenance and taking care of our equipment and not overstressing our equipment, not prematurely wearing out our equipment. And then the last one would be production. But that is not telling people to work harder or work faster. It is that if you improve your safety, and we don't have to respond to incidents all the time and take people out of the field, if you improve your quality assurance, quality control processes to where we don't have to go back and fix something, and if you improve your maintenance so we can keep equipment in the field and out of the shop because of preventable damages because of overstressing equipment, then your production is going to come along naturally with that. So we're going to work smarter, not harder. We're going to watch the process, but we're not out there teaching work faster, work harder. We're talking work smarter, take care of each other, take care of your equipment, and deliver a quality product. Production will improve always. It'll always get better, right? So those are our 4 directives with training, and training will help with those. Knowledge on safety, knowledge on QA, QC practices, knowledge on how crews can help with maintenance in the field, and then knowledge of production. We will talk about production, but that's topics like lean in construction, efficient job sites, reducing steps, motion matters type of topics, right?
Right. And the top 2 responses in the poll were reducing safety incidents and improving training, accountability, and evaluation, which is Built is built for. So
we actually started what we call a Built inspection, which it's kind of in its infancy. So when I go to a job site, my role is training and safety. I do help with safety, but my primary mission is training. But we want to see that is Built being used on the job site. So when we go out to the job site, I'll look at those 4 things: safety, QA, QC, maintenance, and production. And I'll look at all those, and it's a fledgling, process right now. But we're looking at a Built inspection. Are we doing on the job site what we talked about in the Built program?
Right. And see how we talked about the expansion and the opportunities, and this is excellent. Okay. Before we go to, we have some questions. Before we go to questions, I just want to show that there is a video of, so you have DJ in the background. He's working on the Advantage. He's doing some, you can kind of see it, but you can't. We do have a quick video of just what crew training looks like on the simulator. So if we could play that, I think that would be great. Here we go.
right there. We actually tell them that they're not supposed to let that kind of stuff happen. So you'll find that you have several different types of operator. You'll have a very cautious operator that gets a 100% score right out the gate, very cautious. Then you'll have somebody that hops on the simulator and the first thing they say is, how do I tip it over? How, because they think it's a video game, and that allows us to sort of identify operator traits as well. But yeah, I think folks would be very surprised at the graphics, graphic quality, the feedback that the interactive system gives operators, and the realism, and then also the challenge. How do you be super accurate with the crane or the digger derrick, right? So it's really a pretty amazing. It's a really amazing machine.
And great. Okay, it's time for questions now. Keith?
Awesome information. Thank you, Mark and Mary Lee and DJ. That was very informative, a great conversation. Now we're going to move to the Q&A session. A reminder to the audience to submit any questions you have for the speakers, and we'll answer as many as we can live. Anything that we don't have time for live can be answered via email after the session. Okay, let me get into this. So, listening to this conversation, it's just such a cool and engaging way to learn safety. It's almost like you mentioned video game. I know it's not a video game, but it makes it sort of entertaining and fun and engaging, like I said. But construction sort of has, a stereotype of an older generation working in the construction industry. Do older workers have any trouble sort of adapting to this kind of training when they're used to more hands-on stuff?
Well, when folks first come into the simulator lab, they look at that and say, "Oh, I'm not interested." And then actually, it's really interesting. You'll have a 30-year operator that absolutely knows their stuff and operates thousands and thousands of dollars of equipment every day on our job site, but is afraid that they're going to mess this machine up. "Oh, I don't want to get on. I'm going to mess it up." No, you're not going to mess it up. So there's some hesitation. And the big thing is just trying to nudge them. Okay, hop on. Let's just hop on and make it happen. And they do. And DJ or I will lead them through how to get started and log them in. And in the first few seconds, they're already into it, and they're running just like it was a regular machine. So, there's that initial sort of, I never thought I'd be running a track excavator, video game machine. But they really take to it. I haven't had anybody object seriously to it. There's some initial kind of giggling, and when they hop on, the light switch comes on, and they love it. Plus, from an administrator standpoint, I can track that as training. I can go over all of our best practices with them, right? And and then also they know, because everybody gets their own login, this machine's available even when I'm not here. There's a DJ can fire it up, and we have other folks here that can administer that training. So it's available to everybody. So yeah, I've had a lot of good feedback from everybody that sat on it. I haven't had any negative feedback about the machine.
Now, Mark, do you complement this with sort of classroom training? Do people come in and do classroom training or hands-on training first and then go to the simulator? How does it work at Sellenriek?
A little both, yeah. The built program is about 70-30 in terms of being out and doing hands-on work. About 70% of that day, 30 is going to be up in the classroom. Every morning, we'll have trainees in here for 1 hour operating, and they'll just switch back and forth and to give everybody an opportunity to use the simulators. Now, I want everybody to know that this helps create those muscle memory markers for running an actual Mini X or skid steer. This helps them get that mind-muscle, mind-hand coordination. And this machine will take somebody that has never operated a track hoe before, and they may score a 40, 50, 60% right out the gate. And literally in the next, when they retry that same module, they will score 98 to 100%. So training response is incredibly fast. They get better quicker. And then when we send them to the job site, we get a lot of anecdotal feedback from our on-site foremen that say, oh yeah, he's never ran a track hoe before now, but he can. You know, the simulator helped them. Now he's running. So time to production you need to think about too. And that's another thing that folks forget is how long does it take to get a new employee up to speed? This makes time to production faster. So that stair step, the CM Labs simulator is an important part of that stair step process.
Excellent. We got time for about one more question here. You mentioned that this was a big investment for you guys. I mean, just your safety training program in general, but I'm sure the simulators is a big part of that expense. What would you tell a company who's interested or deciding whether or not to invest in these sort of simulation programs?
I would look for economic development grant opportunities in your area. I would look at insurance grants, right? Maybe from your work comp insurance carrier. I would look at any kind of grant funding that might be out there to help with the expense. I would also look at partnering. Do you have other construction companies or other groups in your area that could share the funding, right? To help with the initial costs. But, you know, don't let that initial cost, you know, don't let that drive you away because you're looking at down the road savings that will take time. But, and also remember faster to production. If you have somebody that's never operated a track hoe before and you send them out to a job site, it's incredibly unsafe to train a new person that's never operated a track excavator to stand beside a track excavator and instruct them. So you're taking not only your new employee's time, but your foreman's time away from managing that job. And they're standing beside these very dangerous machines. So time to production, safety of not only the new employee, but your foreman standing beside a track excavator, right? I would partner with groups. I would partner with friends in the company, friends in the industry, and see if maybe you could spread those costs out across 5 companies. I would look at grant opportunities as well. But look at where do you want to be down the road? You know, where do you want to be down the road? And look at how it's going to help you get your new people to production faster.
Great info, Mark. I really appreciate it. This wraps up today's webinar on how simulation lowers risks, costs, and claims in the utilities industries. A special thank you to our speakers, Mark Woodward and Mary Lee Shalvoy, and DJ there in the background, and to our sponsors, CM Labs, for making this event possible. This webinar is brought to you by Compact Equipment Magazine and Utility Contractor Magazine. A recording will be available online for those who'd like to revisit the discussion and share it with colleagues. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you at our next event. Bye for now.
Bye. Thanks.